Miss Canada.
It was a crowning moment for Nazanin Afshin-Jam, finishing as the runner-up at the Miss World pageant in 2003. She would go on to do many other things, including modeling and music, but her life would be forever changed with a single email. In it, she learned of another young woman who shared her first name, thrown in prison in Iran for stabbing the man who tried to rape her. That email and what followed soon became an international campaign, and she's now written about it in the book titled The Tale of Two Nazanins. We welcome Nazanin Afshin-Jam to our studios this morning. We've spoken to you periodically through this story. You put it down in detail, weaving the two lives together and how this all came about. It became your life for a while, trying to free Nazanin after the email, as you said, that came in, and that was at a time when you were getting a barrage of emails. You zeroed in on this one, and your life changed.
That's true. At the time, I didn't know anything about this other Nazanin, and the email came up, urgent, girl on death row, because 3 men tried to attack her and rape her. And when I got this email, I mean, it absolutely horrified me, and I decided nobody else was doing anything on the matter, and why not me? So I started the campaign to try to save her.
You're one person. You started a campaign that is still active today on child executions in Iran. Tell me when you knew at that moment that you were going to take this on to do whatever you could to try to save her life.
Well, the more I learned about the injustices of her case, the fact that she was a juvenile, she was only 17 years old at the time, and Iran had signed international treaties that forbids the executions of juveniles. I learned that you would need 4 male witnesses in a scenario like that to justify that such an act was taking place. Had she allowed the rape to take place, she could have been still charged with acts incompatible with chastity and been given 100 lashes, or had she been married, she could have been sentenced to death by stoning for adultery. So all these factors came in, and I said, you know, there's so much injustice in this story. Already she had lived such a life of poverty and abuse and discrimination in her own family. Somebody had to step in, and, you know, her being another Nazanin, and almost, you know, you put yourself in her shoes and you say, if I was still in Iran, this could have happened to me. So I have to now take responsibility and step up and help her.
You came to this country when you were very young, when your family, your parents fled the revolution there. You would have known a little prior to getting involved in this journey about Iran, but reading through your story, and it's horrifying, because it's not just about Nazanin that you learn. It's about many women who are in prison and the injustices, and in many cases it involves rape or attempted rape, and women trying to protect themselves or their children.
Absolutely. Before, I mean, I had been involved in a lot of different humanitarian issues, but on the case of Iran and just the human rights abuses people face on a daily basis, the discriminatory laws for women, legally under the law, it states that a life of a woman is worth half of a man. So she can't obtain a driver's license, or I mean a passport, or travel without permission from her husband or father. Ethnic and religious and sexual minorities are discriminated on a daily basis. Freedom of expression is curtailed, and people can't express themselves, say anything remotely against the regime without facing some kind of repercussion by being tortured, executed. So again, through the process of helping this one Nazanin, I came to learn so much about just human rights abuses, and wanting now to take further action on the global scale.
It's still heartbreaking, even at the end. Nazanin gets out of prison, but you, to this day, don't really know where she is.
I mean, the day she got out of those prison walls, it was one of the happiest moments, days of my life. And we kept in contact for a couple years. She seemed like she was starting to get adjusted into her new life, although she still was recollecting parts of her abuse in prison, and she was facing a lot of trauma, but we wanted to get her life back on track. And then suddenly, from one day to the next, no more communication. And so since 2010, I've had no contact with her or her family, despite the fact that we've sent people.
And a number is out of service? I mean, one of the phone numbers you used for her aunt?
Yeah, the 3 numbers I'd been calling repeatedly over the years went dead, and at one point somebody else was answering the phone. They said this is not her phone number. So we sent out people and they couldn't find her, and we're still looking to this day, and I'm hoping again with this book maybe we'll find a lead to discovering where she is and where her family is.
You've made a difference, though, already, and there was a new penal code that went into effect in Iran in February designed at protecting some of that, although it's not
Yes,
perfect.
I mean, I have my fingers crossed, although we've seen time and time again with this regime, they'll state something publicly that, let's just say, stoning has ended or child executions has ended, and yet months later you see that they don't abide by these laws. Although we are happy that steps have been taken, I mean, forward. This new law, they say that there's an end to child executions, although there's little tiny asterisks at the bottom where they say, okay, child executions no more for drug traffickers. But yet, other scenarios, it's at the discretion of the judge. And the judges can rule by something called el-Qazi, which means divine knowledge of the judge, whereby if they feel like God is telling them that the person in front of them is guilty of a crime, well, then that's the verdict. There's no proper judicial system that gives a chance to somebody like Nazanin or some of these other minors on death row.
You know, we started the segment by showing the pageant, and that was so long ago, and you make it very clear in this book that that was a mere platform for what would become your life work. You gave up a singing career, you gave up modeling so that you could do human rights.
Well, I mean, again, the music and the modeling also were platforms to be able to speak on greater human rights issues that I'd been fighting most of my life. And having worked as a global youth educator with the Red Cross for several years, I again wanted a new platform to speak on some of these issues. And at the time, it did help me tremendously to gain media attention, to bring a case like Nazanin's forward. But as you said, that was almost 10 years ago now. So I would hope people would see other aspects of my life as well.
It's a fascinating story. It's terrifying, and it's also heartbreaking, but it seems like there's no end to this. This is the beginning of your continued push for human rights there.
That's right. I mean, 50% of the profits from my royalties from the book will go towards anti-violence against women and children initiatives. So I'm in the process of trying to start a foundation to be able to further help people like Nazanin building shelters and supporting local shelters here in Canada as well.
Thank you so much for coming in and sharing the book with us today.
Thank you.